class, everyone. We are currently in the third match of this 3v3 season. Things are going well-ish. We lost against the cheater in the first round. We did really well in the second round. Well, kind of well, but well enough to where we won by 6 banners, so I'll take that. And now, against this final match, we're up against a player I guess I will be calling Blue. I think this is a W. I guess it might be a BLW. I don't know if it's a sandwich or something like that, but he is our current opponent today, and I'm obviously hoping to win, but he put down a pretty darn good defense with a lot of good Datacrons I just don't really have. But before we go ahead and look at those, let's look at his overall roster stats. And we actually have relatively comparable rosters. This doesn't happen every single time, so it's pretty cool when it does. As far as relic levels, he only has 91 more than us. This is typically a lot higher, and this is starting to become more and more crucial because the more relic levels someone has on me, the more Datacrons they can use. If they have 20 Datacrons and I have 20 Datacrons, but I can only fit mine on 5 teams because of the relic level rule, then they have a huge advantage. So that's very, very good for us. And as far as the rest of the stuff goes, it's pretty clean across the board. Let's go ahead and look at mods. Yeah, I've got 7 more here, 12 more here, 60 more there. That's nice, but nothing ginormous as far as mods go. We do have 2 GAC Omicrons he doesn't have, and it actually kind of looks like they're not the typical ones, so we have Dash, that is typical for people not to have, and we have Iden, so that's nice. Probably not as nice for 5v5 and 3v3, but still, that's somewhat of an advantage. And then, of course, he has Ray. At least I'm guessing he does. Actually didn't look, but I just always assume that, yeah, he has Ray. I always just assume everyone kind of does. So he's got the advantage in more areas than we do, but the odds aren't totally stacked out of our favor. But going into the defense, I wonder if he started attacking. According to his Omega Bot report, he attacks really early. Typically within the first 3 hours every single time. It doesn't look like he started given the 0 he's got there. My defense, I didn't change anything from last time. I scouted this guy and I looked over, and he usually set like a medium defense, like a pretty good offense-defense split. But also all the Datacrons that he has now didn't really change anything from what he was setting beforehand. And I didn't want to go down like a 2-hour rabbit hole of what he might do, so I just left my defense the same. I was like, we left a trap wall of 2 GLs in the back. We've got some stuff working for us in the front to pull out the bigger stuff. Let's just run with it. I did make sure to go ahead and fix my fleet so that I have Executor in here as well as Negotiator, so we don't have to use those on offense, and yeah. And then as far as his defense goes, it is pretty gnarly. He's got Ray with level 9, and it is a good level 9 Datacron. It's the 75% more damage, so we'll figure out what we're going to do there. It's probably going to be SLKR, GBA, and Mon Mothma, but I don't know. We'll find out. Gas, not sure we're using there. Oh, is this a Stunacron? I didn't even think about that. Oh, it's Retaliate. Okay, so that's bad, but that's not as bad as it could be. Jedi Knight Luke one as well. He's got a lot of good Datacrons, and he's got a lot of characters. So he's got this good one here, but he doesn't have the starting TM, and he starts with damage immunity. So I'm almost wondering if maybe we can try to get cute and use something with Bad Batch. I don't know though. Pretty typical Mara Jade Starkiller here, and then he's got his JMK as well. And unfortunately for us, I believe this JMK is faster. Level 9 and level 3 are pretty much losers, but that level 6 is the Stunacron, and that can cause issues. How fast are you? I'm pretty sure we were looking at it before, and we couldn't JML him. Yeah, alright, so that's... Maybe we can. We'll look into that here in a second when we actually get to the match. Top wall really isn't that impressive. He seems to take a pretty similar strategy that I do, where I stack the bottom wall to really try to cause a lot of issues and win in that margin. And then top wall is just pretty much there to make sure they don't get max banners. So I mean, there's a Cody lead over here. What's the Datacron for Cody? Oh yeah, that's not gonna do much. I don't mind that one on maybe like a Vandor Dash team, but he doesn't have that. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get to the battles. All right, so here go the battles. We're going to start off with our Wampa versus Starkiller. We did this last match. We had a lot of good success with it, and this time the Mar also didn't have a lot of potency. So things were fine for the most part. Pretty much things went identical to the last time. We resisted the initial stun, and they didn't have enough speed to knock down the stagger. The Starkiller was really fast this time though, which was not great because you can see right now he's getting up to having a ton of his unleashed or force energy stack to be able to go unleashed, and that ends up becoming a rather large issue. Because if we hit him right now and he counters on his basic, he hits 100% unleashed, he gets his whatchamacallit, and then he kills us. Unfortunately, even with 29 dots, he ends up surviving, and then Wampa just can't take the following hit. So we end up losing the match. Our opponent actually, or not the match, we end up losing the battle, but our opponent lost his battle as well. So it was kind of okay in the very beginning. We then go and take Starkiller versus Gas. I don't like this matchup. I think, well, Gas is a very good team in threes. Starkiller is arguably just much better. Like this is not a great trade. This is probably about the same as using a solo C, or even worse than that. So we do take them in, though. It's just kind of the option that we had. We, win with great success because the team is just legitimately better. This isn't a very, very hard matchup. Starkiller doesn't even get close to getting unleashed. And then we had to make a hard decision. We have SLKR and we have JML to beat their Ray and to beat their JMK. Both have level 9 Datacrons. So this is not super great. And we come in and we decide to use JML versus Ray. This is the super ult Ray. So pretty much we either kill her before she gets to her first ult, or we're dead in the water. So we go ahead and remove the taunt from Haldo. We try to get their Ray into damage immunity immediately. Instead of going to call an assist, we end up just going for the armor shred. Because like I said, I want to push her into damage immunity. And she's about to take a turn, so she's about to come out of it. So I'm like, okay, so that's great. She does have a lot of health steal, so she does go back to 100% health. That isn't good. We are able to call Ahsoka to assist here, though, because when she crits, she actually cleanses other Galactic Republic allies and cams Galactic Republic. So this is going pretty well. We're hitting under protection because we have repost. We're just calling in the Jedi, but again, the health steal on Rey in conjunction with her level 9 ends up being too much, and she's into the red. We get so close to being able to take her down, and now nothing matters. She's going to get her ult. She's going to blow the entire team away. She's got, an extra 150 damage on her ult, and she is offense modded, so it's going to hurt. And I mean, spoiler alert, Hoda's also about to put the buff on her, so nobody's going to survive. And right now, we're even debating, like, do we just quit? Like, but maybe there's a chance that Jamis Luke survives. He did not. So we have to go immediately back in. And this is really where things hurt. We have to take in SLKR to be able to beat her because we have nothing else that's going to beat her. And I know that SLKR does pretty well during the first ult as long as he has buddies, even with her having the increased damage and being offense mod and all that fun stuff. But we do make sure to take in GBA because I don't want SLKR to take 1/3 of the damage. I want him to take 1/4 of it. And that is how Rey's ultimate works, super ult or not. So we do put the tank tech on SLKR just so to make sure his protection is topped off. I didn't know if Rey was going to get a whirlwind and knock out the brute, and then something was going to happen to him or something like that. So he's topped off, and even with the super ult, only because there's only 2 allies, the damage is reduced a little bit. It's not 300%, it's 150 or whatever. So we do take reduced damage here, and now Rey's we're gonna have our ult for Rey's next ult, so she's not just gonna kill us. So we were able to survive the first because we had buddies, and then she gets to her second, and it just doesn't matter. We're in our ult, we have damage immunity now. The only thing we have to do is make sure we kill her before she gets to her third, which it shouldn't be hard. We got, as you guys can see, we got a bunch of mastery from being able to siphon their stunned Haldo, so she went down very easily. So now I don't have SLKR, which was my counter for JMK. So this is like the closest option we have here with Piet and Vader. Our Piet is faster than their JMK, which is very nice because that means that we can throw the mark onto Lord Vader so that we don't immediately lose our buddy characters there. We don't have Maul, we put him on defense. It probably would have been better to have Maul for this, just to have a backup here, because Maul probably would have been able to beat this. Like we had the damage or the cooldown decrease on Vader, so I figured this would be somewhat close at least. And they do put quite a few hits into Vader, and that's very nice and all. And he gets his ult rather quickly, and I probably misplayed this here. Like, I held his ult because I wanted to reduce the cooldowns on that, but I think GK just ended up cleansing it immediately. So that was definitely misplayed on my part there. Went ahead and marked my Lord Vader again, just so that I can have try to have Piet stay around as long as he can because of everything he does. Ultimately doesn't matter too much. We do get the ability blocked, whatchamacallit, AoE with Lord Vader out. That was very cool. That was very nice. And we're tanking all right here. And we are getting our cooldowns decreased. We're getting back to the dots pretty quickly. And we even, I don't know if you guys noticed there, but we triggered the savior mechanic from JMK on Cat that very turn. So that was good in our favor. We have healing immunity, so we can't heal now. And we can't really even go for ult because the ult, most of its benefits are at 100%. So I'm like, all right, we're just gonna have to weather the storm here, and we're gonna go for the middle ability just because that'll get me enough ult charge so that we won't get killed with healing immunity on us. They get really close to taking us down. We do get to proc ult. We go ahead and use the ability block that, and we have a fair amount of health here on our Datacron, so I figured that would heal us as well, and it did. So we ended up getting the ability block back out. We got our cooldowns reduced again. Another ability block onto Cat. She was very close to dying. She had, the dots were starting to finally get to her. We were able to put more out. GK was immediately able to rip them off again. If this were Mace, I don't know, he had Mace's ability block, and that is annoying as well. But yeah, GK just keeps on being an issue, and we're running low on time now. We only have like 1 minute left, and they kill us while their Cat was hunched over. So again, much like the Wampa battle and like the other battle, we were very close. But that was the loss. At this point, our opponent had already broken through the bottom wall. We weren't going to win the rest of the match, so this is all experimentation from here, which I don't typically do this, but on a match that we know we've already lost, we're going to do it. So we go ahead and take in Bad Batch here, because they had the damage immunity, but they didn't have the TM increase. So I'm like, okay, so we can rip that off and we can do things. Unfortunately, Jedi Knight Luke resisted 2 of my exposes, so we weren't able to get his turn meter down. And this is like, even if they don't have a good Datacron, he did have the special Datacron, so that was very good for him. The turn meter loaded Jedi Knight Luke is a huge nightmare. That team is not going to go down now. If I thought I had a more legitimate chance at winning the entire match, I would have taken in something wise or something probably Empire to be able to get ahead of them. But we didn't do that, so we lost. Again, that was very much for experimentation testing purposes. So we didn't win there, and that was fine. And then we went and took in Nest versus the Cody team, just, you know, kind of for fun here. It's funny how this team is starting to kind of grow in popularity just because so many people are making, you know, 5 or 6 Jedi teams, and you want to have Shock for those Jedi teams. So these two often get relegated to Cody, which, I mean, his lead's pretty bad, especially in comparison to what Shock and Gas and all those other people do. This was really fun. We get to use Bam against Maul. Bam actually has a lot of synergy against Maul. You're going to see that in this very battle. The big part of the synergy being Maul's anguish on him. It functions as him taking damage, which not only feeds the Bam team turn meter, but also increases your birds. So we got into our poopy stance, whatever you want to call it. We're getting our birds going. And typically in 3s, you don't get to build that many birds because we have less allies to deal damage and we have less enemies to take damage, which you need both of those to build it up. But now you're going to see Maul gets to his stacks. We go from 12 birds to 17 birds to 20 birds. And now we get to nuke Maul. So 20 birds onto Maul. No way he was going to survive that. That went very well. And now we're Mandalore twice, which doesn't mean anything because neither of our allies are Mandalore or Mandalorian. So this is really annoying, actually. They put the 3 stacks of Beskar armor onto DDK. Don't love that at all because that means he's going to be increasing. He has a bunch of extra stats, and on top of that, he's also going to be increasing his protection every single time he takes a turn. So, well, or at least recovering his protection. Worded that incorrectly. So now, and we don't do this perfectly, but we are trying to balance the tenacity down together with Queel's shock and stun and all that fun stuff. We don't get it right every time, but we do get it right for the most part. It does take a minute. It does take a minute. Like that was a perfect example of how we did it wrong. We didn't put the tenacity down and then we used the stun anyways. Pointless. We need the tenacity down to be able to cancel out the tenacity up that he's getting, because we don't have a dispel. We don't have any way to rip that tenacity up off. So like I said, we do eventually get it right. We put the tenacity down, and we're able to link stuns. We don't use the stun here because we need to save it for next time. I don't really know why we're using birds. I don't think that was helpful. I think the basic would have done more damage because we would have at least been dealing damage twice, whereas the birds were dealing damage once. Holding the tenacity down for when we need to, and then eventually we do get the kill on Droideka. So very nice there, Bam. Very good job. And now we've got Mon Mothma versus Grievous. This is a pretty simple battle, and I'm gotta say, this is a battle that really transcends relic or gear levels, because we've done this multiple times now against R5 to R7 Grievous, actually R5 to R8 Grievous teams before. And even with only having relic ones across the board on our allies here, Mon Mothma's R5 for, Jedi Master Luke, but our Kara and Hoth Rebel Scout there only R1, and this is one, I think all 3 or 4 times we've used it, even with them being at lower relic levels. It is a little clinch, but that's fine, and we do make sure to hold the revive for when someone is actually dead. You're going to see here in a minute, that's very important. So we didn't use our revive there, we get to use it now, and that's very nice, because Kara, I mean, she'll tank pretty well, especially with the crit immunity. We were hitting Grievous there just for fun, not because we thought we could kill him, but because we needed to make sure we weren't going to kill Magna too quickly after Grievous had already taken a turn, because it's going to give him a free turn. So Grievous gets this free turn, isn't able to kill anyone off of it. We are able to pretty consistently reduce his turn meter, and that should be something you can do consistently, because most people don't mod Grievous for tenacity, and Kara has typically pretty good potency. So Grievous does continue to get a few more turns here, but the turn meter we get from Hoth Rebel Scout along with Kara's turn meter pulls that usually land, that in that time, we're able to get him down more than he's able to recover health. So he does eventually go down here. I think it's, we end up getting the Rebel Soldier there to Mark 3 or whatever. We now have to beat Bam. We're going to do this with Jedi Knight Revan and Kyle Katarn. Pretty simple battle. Kyle Katarn is actually a pretty decent damage dealer for Jedi. I like him a lot. We specifically don't mark Bam in the very first move, just because if you mark Bam, you increase his cooldowns so that he goes right into damage immunity, which is really annoying, because then you end up stuck with this marked damage immune character. I'd rather him to waste his bonus turn on not having damage immunity just like that, and then you kill him. It's honestly both work. You can do it both ways, but I find this to be the less annoying route of the two. And now this is just a question of time. These are both 2 really tanky characters, but they have no damage, so they are eventually just going to go down. Kyle Katarn does eventually become a Jedi. He's stacking his damage whenever he's called in to assist there via his Force Connection buff. Figured out the name of that during this match. We're going after L3 first, just because she's going to keep gaining turn meter if we keep hitting Nest. That's going to be annoying. So we do make sure to take her down first, and then Nest. This is actually pretty nice. The Nest is tenacity modded, and typically you want to have Bastila as a buddy when you're trying to kill Nest, because the max health reduction that Jedi Revan does against characters with bonus protection goes through a potency tenacity check. However, Kyle Katarn is just as good as Bastila because he gives potency up to all members. So that was really cool. This was stupid. So we, like I said, at this point in the battle, we had already known that we had lost. So I'm like, all right, let's do something fun. We should probably do our typical crew team against the Nute team, but we didn't. So we go ahead and take in Cody lead Echo and Arc for funsies. And this actually starts to go really well until Nute puts the extortion on our character that has the least amount of TM, which pretty much allows him to loop extortion, and then Dooku starts to land stuns, and things get really ugly. If Dooku had maybe killed Cody there and they lost their extortion instead of stunning Arc, it might have worked, but as you can see, this is not working. Again, didn't really change anything in the battle, just kind of wanted to see what would happen. So we end up using crew here, and even with this team being totally turn meter loaded, get extortion off, all that fun stuff, it just doesn't matter. We work our way through Nute number 1, we work our way through Nute number 2, and then not a whole lot Dooku can do, especially once we get him into the fun 2-turn stun phase, which he now enters. So, yep, we're able to take him down rather easily, albeit for lower banners because it was a 2-shot. And then move on to ships, where we do our thing. We go ahead and take in our Malevolence versus Empire. Very typical fleet battle for us. Our opponent, they placed the typical strong defense for the fleet, which is Empire, Negotiator, as well as Executor. So this is pretty much just how we do our fleet for the most part. We go ahead and take in our Empire here. Or sorry, we take in our Malevolence versus their Empire. This is always messy. This is never good banners. This never feels clean. We always pretty much lose Hyena. But that being said, as you can see, this is going well for the most part. We're able to get the TIE bomber out rather quickly. We feed the team turn meter, but at the sake of killing TIE fighter pilot, which I guess I don't regret that now. The prototype goes down soon after. That part was actually pretty easy. And now it's just shuttle. And they get close to their ultimate, I'm pretty sure, but they just keep killing our Vulture droids, so it doesn't matter too much. Oh, this was fun. This was fun, and this was dumb. So we go ahead and we take in our Finalizer versus Negotiator. And I don't know if you guys saw on the before screen, but we didn't take in Ebonhawk, which is really, really bad. Like, you very desperately need him to be able to do things. Also, Jedi Anakin didn't get stunned, so that wasn't good. So that kind of actually messes up the whole turn order, because now our shuttle is going before their enemy character, and that enemy character is going to be able to get his he's going to be able to get his taunt back. So we can't rip the buff off of him. So what we do instead is we go ahead and give these 2 turn meter, and now we can do exactly what we need to do. We're able to rip off the whatchamacallit buff, and now we get a clear shot at Jedi Anakin, not only to stun him, but to be able to rip off the unending loyalty buff. So this is going well, and then we get to the part where I don't have Ebonhawk. So again, this battle was already lost. I didn't do this intentionally, but I'm like, all right, we're just gonna have to go with this. So we go ahead and bring in Echelon because we can. And they bring in Sarge, and that actually was very, very helpful. So now we give turn meter to every single character that isn't that one specific one, which I forget his name right now. I want to say Shuttle, but I guess Echelon and Shuttle are different characters. We keep doing that. We're able to get their tank down pretty quickly. We do now have to deal with Sarge, which I do not love the fact that that is a thing, but actually I think Sarge is supposed to be pretty good against Finalize, if I remember correctly. Then they bring in Plo. But at this point, our silencer is just going to start doing just ridiculous damage. We one-shot Sarge from full protection. And I want to bring in a character that's going to call silencer to assist, but at the same time he's dazed, so I don't. We just bring in the tank. Like, Sarge will be fine. Like, he'll do his thing. Keep going after Jedi Anakin to the best of our ability. Even with him having crit immunity, we're able to kill him. And now, like, there's no tank. So silencer just gets to rip everyone apart, and that is awesome. They get buff immunity on Sarge, which is like the worst thing that can happen to Sarge, but it doesn't really matter because our silencer does enough damage. So kind of cool. Like, typically you want Ebonhawk for that battle to be able to immediately rip off the stealth from Anakin after unending loyalty, but this works too. We won that one, and now we take in our resistance team, and this was a little different for us because they didn't end perfectly on cooldown, so we had to time out here, and I'm not going to make everyone wait 5 battles during the YouTube, so we just immediately cut to the battle. And this is also different. The starting lineup, I think, is supposed to stop rebels, but I've never done the 2-shot versus this exact comp. This was weird for me. So we do go right after IG, and going right after IG is very risky because if you do not get the assists, he's just going to heal, and then you get nothing. Luckily, we did get the assists. IG did die. That worked out very well for us. They go ahead and put a bunch of buffs on our big, so we drop the breach, and now I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. If we basic Houndstooth here, then he's gonna lose taunt, and then we'll just deal with Slave One when we need to, because Houndstooth taunt is the permanent, really annoying one. So we get it off, and then we get another assist with Falcon. Like, okay, this is really good. Let's go ahead and take in Phoenix, so we can start again taking control of the field. We get Slave One out immediately. This is going very well. We get enough assists to get Razor Crest down by 1. I'm like, okay, so if we can get buff immunity on him now, he's not going to get that taunt back. So typically I like to take in the Ghost or the other Phoenix ship, whatever they're called. The Ghost fan, I always confuse them. I think it's Ghost 2 maybe. I don't know. We get the buff immunity, and here I was posed with an interesting opportunity. We could either go for Houndstooth or go for Razor Crest, and I think going for Houndstooth made sense, but at the same time, he's just so tanky. Like, nothing but that hit from Y-Wing was actually going to kill him. So we take a little too long there, and now they're able to get out the rest of their fleets. They get contract. There's no Houndstooth, so we're still looking pretty good here. But at the same time, they're getting way farther than I wanted them to. I wanted them to be dead by now. So they end up getting their contract, and that's all fun. But at the same time, Xanadu Blood isn't going to 1v5 our whole Rebel team. So I'm like, all right, this is going to take a second, but we're going to get through him. And sure enough, he heals a few times, which is very annoying, but he does eventually die. And that does end the stream. We didn't have the final results because this is the last match and they're already gone, which that's annoying, but whatever. Well, like I said, we did lose the match. Our opponent played very well. He dropped a fair amount of battles here and there, but he full cleared, and we only got 2 walls, so he ended up winning. So again, thank you everyone for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Remember to like and subscribe, and until the next time, stay awesome.